The Giants' season ended with a lopsided loss to the Eagles in the NFC divisional round. So let's recap the Giants' season and look ahead to the future with New York Post Giants beat reporter Paul Swartz, who joins me now. Paul, I know it's been a busy last 24, 36 hours for you. How you doing?
I'm doing good, Dexter. I was in the Giants locker room on Sunday. Didn't even get to see my Arsenal team beat Man United, but I heard they did well, so good for them. First in the table. Very nice.
For the viewers who do not know, Paul, who just mentioned, he is an Arsenal fan. I'm a Liverpool fan, and Paul had to find a way to get that in there. So I respect the move. I respect it there. Now, Paul, you've got good vibes with Arsenal winning. It was good vibes for Big Blue after their win over the Vikings in the wild card round. Did the 38-7 loss to the Eagles, where there weren't good vibes, did that show the gap between the G-men and the NFL's elite?
You know, Dexter, this is a situation where you would say, oh, no, they're not, that far apart. But how can I say that? The first time they played the Eagles, they lost 48-22, right? Now they played a second game against the Eagles. It was the Giants backup against the Eagles starters. Jalen Hurts wasn't 100%. So that game, the Eagles win in a fairly close game. This was a blowout, 38-7, as you said. So right now, the Eagles own the Giants. And yes, that gap is real. That gap is there. You know, Dexter, the Giants won one game in the division this year. They were 1-4-1. What does any coach or GM say? The first thing you have to do is you have to learn how to win in your own neighborhood, right? In your division. And the Giants did not do that. They beat the Commanders once. They tied them once. They got swept by the Cowboys. They got swept by the Eagles. So moving forward, you know, the Giants had a good season. Much better than we thought. They made the playoffs. As you said, they had a really good game against the Vikings. But until further notice, the Giants are not in the same class as the Eagles because they were spanked both times. And, you know, that playoff game was a real mismatch. I mean, the Giants were never in that game.
Yeah, never in that game at all. It was over pretty early. Now, Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones, they both do not have contracts for 2023. How important are the decisions surrounding those two players? And do you think that both will be back in the Giants uniform next season?
Well, those are the key decisions. I mean, running back, yes, Saquon is the face of the franchise in some ways, but the decision on the quarterback is the most paramount decision of any team, any NFL team. Who is the quarterback moving forward? Do we have one? If we don't have one, where do we get one, right? I think Daniel Jones will be back. Let's start with him. The franchise tag is $30 million. I do not think that's appropriate for him. I don't think they will franchise him. I don't know what kind of message it would send to say, we love you, Daniel. We'll give you $30 million for 1 year. I don't see that. So I think a multi-year deal. The going rate for quarterbacks in his tier, he's not the top tier. You know, the top tier is 50, 45 million a year. He's in that second tier, which is 30 to 35 million a year. And that's what the Giants are going to have to pay on a 3-year or 4-year contract to keep Daniel Jones. I think they will, because if they don't sign him, who is the alternative? They're going to pick 25th in the draft. You're not getting help in the draft there for a quarterback. So I think Daniel Jones comes back. I do. As far as Saquon, I think it's a little more difficult. You can franchise him for about $10 million next year. That's $10 million on the cap. It's a running back. Saquon will not want that, and he would be very upset. And he would be, maybe not sign that and maybe think to move elsewhere. Saquon has said, Daniel Jones said he wanted to come back on Sunday during Baggy Day. Saquon Barkley, right after the game, said, as you guys know, I want to retire a Giant. I don't want to go anywhere. And he said, I cannot imagine that was my last game in a Giants uniform. I think they'll resign him. They have to come up with an equitable contract. They worked some numbers at the bye week, 3 years, maybe about $12 million a year. That was a little light for Saquon. So the Giants won't break the bank for Saquon. He is a running back on the other side of 25, barely, but he means a lot to the franchise, and he's one of the best running backs in the league. So I think they work out a deal with him too.
All right, see both guys coming back, which I think Giants fans will be very happy with. And I think also most Giants fans, as you mentioned before, Paul, they're going to view this season as a success. But looking towards the future, what does General Manager Joe Schoen need to do to improve this roster for 2023 and beyond?
How long do we got?
we got a little time, just a little bit of time. How quick can you deliver it?
30 minutes? That's how long it's going to need. I'll do the short version. Look, okay. He needs to do a lot. Joe Schoen is not fooled by what happened this year. He was thrilled that they made the playoffs. He was delighted they won a lot of close games. He had a great conviction on Brian Daboll, and it came to fruition. He is a really good first-year head coach. So that's all good. Daniel Jones, as we mentioned, Saquon Barkley stayed healthy, all good stuff. But Joe Schoen is not fooled into thinking this is a terrific roster, man. We're one or two players away. I think they still have to do work on the offensive line. Nick Gates and John Feliciano are both free agents. Will they be back? I don't know. They have two young left offensive tackles. Andrew Thomas is obviously the real star there at left tackle. So I think they're okay there. Certainly, they need inside linebackers, Dexter. They couldn't stop the run this year. The Eagles ran for almost 300 yards against them. The Giants gave up 144 yards a game on the ground. If you can't stop the run on defense, then you are going to be vulnerable, all across the field. And they couldn't stop, even with a great defensive lineman like Dexter Lawrence having a great year. So they need inside linebackers, probably two of them. All the inside linebackers on the team right now, none of them might be back next year. So I think that's an issue. And playmakers, okay? Look, Kenny Golladay was a zero. Kadarius Toney was traded. Wan'Dale Robinson, the rookie, had some nice moments and then got hurt. So he had, reconstructive surgery. He probably won't be back for the start of the year. And, old reliable Sterling Shepard took a pay cut to stay on the roster. He got hurt again. We don't know what his future is. He doesn't have a contract. They need wide receivers. Isaiah Hodgins was a great story, but, he's not a number one. And I don't know if he's a number two right now. So they need weapons. They need weapons. And Daniel Bellinger had a nice rookie year as a tight end, but he's not tight end one in my mind. So they need, all around the league, you see these quarterbacks throwing to, Dallas Goedert ripped the Giants in the playoff game, right? The Giants need a big-time tight end. They need big-time playmakers. Then maybe Daniel Jones, who could have a good year next year, will throw for more than 15 touchdowns because that's not enough. They need help for him.
Yeah, sounds to me. Very good season for the Giants. A lot of work to still be done in the offseason. Paul Schwartz, he will be on top of that, of course, for the New York Post, as he's been doing for many years. Paul, good win for Arsenal. Thank you for the time. Appreciate you as always.
Thanks, Dex.